and you don't have to put any effort into it. There could be the problem of being somewhat bored with Maha'ati or disappointed with it. The Maha'ati view of enlightenment. The nature of Maha'ati has to do with this view of enlightenment. In Maha'ati, enlightenment is not seen as something to be attained, but rather as something that has been completely attained from the beginning. In Maha'ati, we speak of primordial enlightenment. Having confidence in that understanding or concept, you transcend open fear, and you transcend collecting and rejecting. Becoming Buddha is a big heroic trip, like becoming a king or queen. But Maha'ati transcends the notion of Buddha. It transcends the notion of Dharmakaya and of any kind of attainment. Maha'ati does so because it's approaching experience from the back door. It's coming downward rather than going up. So there's no attempt at heroism. Since the concepts of all the previous yanas are completely transcended, Maha'ati has a fresh and direct quality. There is a prime or supreme quality to the whole thing. It's primordial and fresh. This yana is referred to as the imperial yana, for instead of searching for spirituality as though climbing up from below, you receive the inspiration as something coming down from above. So it's an umbrella motion. Sorry. It's an umbrella notion. Maha'ati is like relating with the raindrops falling rather than with the plant growing. It's a sudden and direct experience. Experience and attitude. People experience Maha'ati according to their basic nature or Buddha family. Nevertheless, they're sharing the same world. It's like different people experiencing the same kind of weather. When people of 5 different Buddha families go out to a Saturday picnic, they see the same sunshine and the same rainfall, and they eat the same food. So their experience is basically the same, although they have different perspectives as to the subtleties of the whole thing. Likewise, at the Maha'ati level, although we're different individuals, our experience would be pretty much the same. What makes us individual is our hang-ups, our little trips. But at this point, all of those things are gone. Everything is completely gone, so it's completely unified. It's like parachuting. When a group of people parachute out of a plane, they share the same space, particularly if their parachutes break. When you come to the realization of Maha'ati, there will still be the same pattern of problems you had all your life, such as in your relationships with people. Your problems will be absolutely the same, but your attitude will be different. Maha'ati doesn't mean that you're going to be saved from all those things, or that you'll have no more problems. Maha'ati could be a problem too. So experience doesn't change, but in a sense it does. Because your attitude is different, the feedback you get is also different. But this doesn't mean that as a Maha'ati practitioner you're suddenly going to get rich, your marriage is going to be completely tidy, and you're going to have no problems in dealing with your neighbors. All of those things are still going to be happening. Nevertheless, your attitude toward them will be different. And your attitude might have been a large factor in creating those problems in the first place. Attitudes such as territoriality and the feeling of being threatened have been sorted out already. So situations like not having money are not problematic. They can be handled because you're more daring and more open. Maha'ati and the Two Truths. The Maha'ati attitude towards Kunzap and Dundam is to regard relative and absolute truth as very basic and ordinary. Dundam is regarded simply as a situation without any hold, without any fixation, without any place to fix your mind. And as for Kunzap, it's phenomenal play. Kunzap is not particularly profound. It's just ordinary phenomenal profundity on a very direct level. For instance, if a Maha'ati person happened to see a cup of tea, They would not interpret the cup of tea as an expression of the mandala or some kind of mystical symbol. They would see that the mandala is just the cup of tea itself. The Tundam approach to the cup of tea would be that the cup of tea came from nowhere, and therefore it goes nowhere. It's simply a cup of tea. The spiritual explosion. Maha'ati experience is that the space outside of your individual existence is vast, so you can begin to relate with that space properly and thoroughly. Having understood that the space outside of your existence is vast and open enough to relate with, your inner space begins to yearn towards it. So there is a sympathetic space within your own practice and understanding, and there is a reciprocal sympathetic space that exists outside your body and outside your little world, an outer space that has nothing to do with a particular personality. What happens is that pressure is put on the boundary from both sides, from within as well as from without, so that finally you have a fundamental, complete explosion. The inner space breaks into the outer space completely. At that point, the spiritual atomic bomb is finally actually exploded. The explosion takes place when there is no reference point, just pure demand. You cannot sneak out. You cannot philosophize. You cannot talk anything into anything else. You cannot do anything. The external pressure is enough, and the internal pressure is enough as well. So you go boom. The relation of inner to outer here is like a bomb's view of outer space. There's pressure coming from outside and pressure coming from inside. It's as simple as that. It's purely functional, purely chemical. For example, if a bomb is made at a certain altitude and you take that bomb out higher, it might explode. Another analogy for this is a light inside a vase. If there is a light burning inside a vase in the daytime, then when somebody breaks the vase, the light inside the vase becomes part of the light outside. So there's no longer any need for maintaining the external and internal light separately. If there's no boundary, you live much more. You don't have any boundary between you and the world, so you can see it properly. Leaped, not leaping. In Maha'ati, form is physical involvement, and space is believing that you have to leap off an enormous cliff. But it's not really a leap, because you've already cut the cliff. If there were a cliff, leaping would be a trip. So Maha'ati is a state of leaped rather than leaping. Letting go would be a trip. And when that's so, you're far behind. You're somewhere other than Maha'ati. As an example, suppose someone told you that tomorrow you were going to walk blindfolded across a bridge, and if you make a mistake, you would fall into a river. But the next day, that person just had you walk blindfolded across a plank on the ground. The trip of letting go is like walking blindfolded on a plank on the ground with no water underneath it at all. No journey. In the Maha'ati tradition, your state of mind begins to dissolve. When we talk about dissolving your state of mind, usually we mean some kind of relief or unity. But in this case, the dissolving doesn't bring any unity or relief. It's just simply mind becoming nothing, or becoming everything at once, or mind encompassing everything. When everything is encompassed, we begin to feel terror. That terror and confusion tends to bring about a notion of reality that does not have any sense of journey. That sense of journeylessness brings about the only pure vision of brilliance. It also brings about the possibility of seeing the colors of the Buddha family in their true nature. Practitioners of the Maha'ati tradition establish their posture properly. They sit on the meditation cushion with their back, legs, neck, and everything in the proper position. And then they extend their question out. At that point, the question is regarded as exercising Long, K-L-O-N-G, or ultimate space. When a person has extended and questioned further, that questioning and extension